All right, we're going to revisit adding context to our data for just a minute here. And specifically, we're doing that because I want to define two terms that we'll use quite a bit in statistics, and that is the population and the sample. One of the questions we asked when we were looking at adding context is, do we want answers for just these individuals that we're collecting the data from? Or do we want to use these individuals to represent a larger group and be able to apply those results to a larger group? Okay, we had a good example of that with the pain medication. And specifically, they used people that had broken arms and broken legs. And so that's who we could really apply those results to. But if they were wanting to apply those results to, say, people that have cancer or car accidents or fire victims, then they would need to redo that research where those kinds of people were included in the data that they're collecting. Okay, so the population is the entire group of individuals about which we want information. So this is who we're really hoping to be able to apply our results to. The sample is the part of that group that we actually get information from. Okay, so we might send out a survey to 500 people, but maybe only 150 people return that survey. So our sample would be the 150 who actually returned the survey completed. So, and we'll refine this a little bit more as we move into the third unit. So chapter 8 and 9, we'll look at defining these a little bit more clearly. But for now, the population is the group we'd like to be able to apply our results to. And that's generally a larger group than this sample, which is who we actually get our information from. So on the next page of your guided notes, you have two problems. This is numbers 5 and 6. So I'd love for you to pause the video and you're going to identify those 6 W's again. But this time for the who, you're going to break it down into your best guess as to who the sample is and who the population is. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and give that a try. All right, so hopefully you paused the video and gave those two a try. Let's go through them. So this first one, in order to analyze what some of the potential causes for homelessness are, the Metropolis Project, headed by the UBC, has interviewed 50 homeless people at various shelters across Vancouver in January of 2005 and recorded the following information. So let's start with that following information that they recorded. So the what, these would be the variables here. So they recorded their age, duration of homelessness, education, and country of origin. All right, so that country of origin, that would be the country where you were born. So that answer is going to be a word, right? So this could be Korea, England, the US, Canada, right? So lots of different things, but definitely not a number with units. So this will be categorical. Your educational level is also going to be categorical. Typically, the way that's asked is, did you attend some high school diploma, attend some college diploma, attend some grad school diploma. So they generally put those into categories. So this will be categorical. Duration of homelessness. So duration means length. So how long they've been homeless. So I would guess that this is probably recorded in days or months maybe, but that would make it quantitative. And then their age. So generally age is going to be quantitative unless someone gives you options. So if they said, check this box if you're between 20 and 29, check this box if you're between 30 and 39. So if they break it up like that, they're turning it into a categorical variable. But in general, if someone just asks you, how old are you? That's going to be a quantitative variable. All right, the when. So this says January of 2005. The where. So let's see. It says they interviewed 50 homeless people at various shelters across Vancouver. So I guess the where would be homeless shelters in Vancouver. The house, they said they interviewed. And the why. So it says they're looking for some of the potential causes for homelessness. And this is actually really important research to be doing. Where I grew up, there is kind of a concerning situation with the amount of people that are homeless, and people want to do things to help, right? But we have to be really careful that the help that we want is the help that people need, right? Like we might feel that everybody should have a home, but some people really prefer to sleep outside. And that can be from a variety of things that they've gone through in their life. Um, but we want to be respectful of what people want. And so doing this research, looking at this so that you can really find solutions that work, that people want, is a really important thing to do. And so I'm glad to see that this is what they're looking at, is what these causes are and what help is really needed and is going to make the biggest difference. All right, so the WHO, the sample and the population, says they interviewed 50 homeless people. We'll put 50 homeless people here. And I'm going to add this Vancouver shelters. So the number is important. Your sample should always tell you how many people were in it. And the reason I put Vancouver shelters is that there is a difference between, or there can be a difference between the causes for people that are in shelters versus people that don't want anything to do with a homeless shelter, right? The reason I included Vancouver is a pretty big city, and indeed that's metropolis, kind of lends that idea of big city. And so causes of homelessness in a big city might be different than in a small town. And so really refining that so we know how we can apply this. So the population, who can I actually apply the results, the things that I find out in my research? So homeless people is definitely a good start. I would say maybe homeless people, Vancouver, or other large Canadian cities. And I would probably add in shelters. It might very well be the case that people in shelters and not in shelters might have very similar reasons. We don't know that if we haven't interviewed people that have no interest in being in a shelter. So potentially we could apply this to other large Canadian cities as long as they maybe have a similar weather outlook. So that's, homelessness in places where the weather is warm is very different than homelessness in places where it's very cold. It would be very hard to be homeless in Gunnison when the temperature drops to -40. So these are all kind of considerations that go into this. And so you can't just blindly say, oh, these 50 homeless people represent every homeless person in Canada or every homeless person in the world. All right, so there is the one on homelessness. Let's look at this one. This one is on marijuana. So the local newspaper telesurveyed 420 randomly selected individuals from Gastown and asked if they support, don't support, or have no opinion on the legalization of marijuana in Canada. 54% of the interviewed individuals supported, 37 do not, and 9 have no opinion. All right, so our sample here is the 420 randomly selected. I'm going to write SRS, which stands for simple random sample. So that's something you'll see a lot in statistics. And anytime your sample is random, that's really something you want to note because it has really important properties for statistics. So we have 420 random sample of people from Gastown. Okay. So probably who we could apply these results to if they randomly pulled them out of residents of Gastown would be all residents of Gastown. Okay, that's where they got this 420 randomly from. So that makes that our population. Our variables. So they were asked if they support, don't support, or have no opinion on marijuana. So let's see. I'll call this kind of broadly opinion on marijuana. And so there were 3 choices people had to choose from: support, don't support, or no opinion, which would make this a categorical variable. The when, I don't think it says when they did this research. The where is Gastown in Canada. The how is a telesurvey. Okay, so that's listed up here. And then the why. So they are collecting opinions on legalizing marijuana. There's not really a why stated here. So if you put NA, that's fine. If you put something like it's likely they are looking at some sort of law and whether it would pass or not, that's probably a pretty fair guess as to what's going on here. All right, so there's your sample and population. These other ones were reviews, so hopefully you're feeling pretty solid about those now. You will get practice identifying the sample and population on those weekly skills practices. So you'll see that more, and that should stay pretty fresh in your mind.